Each of us has a path of pure potential, the best and fullest life possible. We have the ability to tap into the vast web of life and the power to deepen our connection to the spirit world. We are creators of our lives and can shift our experiences at any moment to live our highest path. To be alive is magic, and through this knowledge, we can heal and transform anything we wish. Join me, Felicia Armstrong, as we learn how to apply the ancient practices of shamanism to our everyday contemporary life. Enjoy learning about different aspects of shamanism and living in tune with nature cycles, along with guided shamanic journeys and meditations. I am Felicia Armstrong, and this is Shamanic Living. Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to Shamanic Living. I'm Felicia Armstrong, and I'm here to bring my shamanic lifestyle to each of you. I want you to understand the ways to access your pure potential, the best life path possible for you. Shamanism is an all-encompassing spiritual path that has led me to the greatest growth and healing, more than I ever thought possible. And that's something we should all be able to experience. So we've just made our way past the holiday of Imbolc. It usually happens on the 1st or 2nd of February each year. I live in a deep connection to the earth, so my intuition picks up on her subtle shifts and changes so easily. I could feel the first stirrings of new life being brought forward right at the end of January. I kind of start to feel a nudge to wake up from the long, cold, and dark time. Thinking about what new projects I want to work on and any fresh start for my life. And that's kind of a hilarious thing to say from someone who lives in the Midwest when we usually have yet to experience the harshest part of winter until February. But even though the cold and snow may be hitting their peak, it's still when we see the first stirrings of plant life beginning to grow. In one of my nature hikes, I could already see some small green plants poking out of the earth. And seeing those first few leaves of green always gives me so much hope. I think it's been especially potent to me this year because of what's been going on in the world. And I found myself outdoors more than I've ever been, and it's helped me to feel so much more grounded and just centered in my truth. And that's what Imbolc is all about. It's known as the belly of the mother. And to me, it's kind of the pagan New Year. Our ancestors used to see it as the fresh start, when we should be working on purifying ourselves, inspiration, renewal, so that we can move forward when the spring is here, ready for new beginnings. Our days will be getting longer, and our ancestors used to look at this time as a kind of preparation for that. This holiday is also associated with the powerful Celtic goddess Brigid, and she's known as the goddess of fertility, poetry, and healing. She's symbolized by fire. Imbolc focuses on the quickening of the earth, and in turn, Brigid works with us on our own quickening into transformation and rebirth. So she's a beautiful goddess to work with at this time. What I felt called to talk about today is directly related to Imbolc, to transformation, purification, renewal. Since the energy of Imbolc is to wake up or almost surge toward new life, one of the ways we can do that is by changing up our spaces, getting rid of what we don't need, creating a harmonious environment in our surroundings. The farther I've gone down my own spiritual path, the more I've been able to realize that I don't need the material objects I once thought I did. And the things I actually keep are treasures to me. They tend to be natural materials, crystals, plants, so many plants, art, pictures. We were all raised so differently, and my upbringing taught me that to have things and possessions created security, which is what many Americans feel. For me, it's an imprinted belief carried over from people who immigrated to America to live the American dream of wealth, who struggled deeply for security. And after generations of this, I have worked to heal this imprinted belief that having things means having security. I've been able to turn back to the simpler, original way of life of my ancestors. But I will always, always hold great reverence for their struggle and for the amazing gifts of resilience they have given me. I was doing an Akashic record reading recently, and a client's loved one came through in spirit with such a potent message about simplifying her life. He talked about how when we want something, what we are always really looking for is love and connection. He encouraged her to simplify her life of things and to always ask herself what the energy behind something really is. When you want something, is it a need for love? What connection are you truly looking for? And this struck me so deeply because it perfectly articulated how I've been working with want for some time. Every time I perform a healing or reading for someone, it teaches me something. There is an incredible piece of wisdom that helps to push me forward in my own learning. And this was like that. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are 3 methods for working with the split from our divine selves that all humans experience in some way. The first being the path of renunciation. This is when Buddha taught lay people that to more easily access the divine truth of pure love and contentment, renouncing worldly life was a way. Through giving up worldly clothes, possessions, and wealth. This limits the complications and distraction from the spiritual path. When you simplify, it literally moves energy out of our fields so that we can create more peace for ourselves. I also deeply honor that not all of our spiritual paths will be this extreme, and that we're not all meant to show up as spiritual gurus. I'm always personally shifting and growing, so I find that there are elements that work well into living my life spiritually, but still not as strictly as others may choose to. But when I think about simplifying and creating a more minimalistic life, it reminds me that we can't take objects with us when we pass on from this lifetime. But what we can take with us is experience and love. Human beings reflect into their surroundings, their internal state, and vice versa. So this is the perfect time of year to do a little investigating into your space. Take some time to walk around your home, look at the things you have, check in and see if you really feel love for those objects or what energy is behind them. Ask yourself how it would feel to let go of some of your belongings. Would it bring clarity and peace? Odds are that most of us can make room in our lives. We don't have to go as extreme as someone taking a Buddhist path may wish to, but how could we become more conscious of what we need and do not? In a culture that operates on consumerism, minimalism and simplifying life has become a focus for so many people. And it's because there's also a deep spiritual current to this path. The way to spiritual enlightenment in almost every culture is to purify the spirit of the egoic wants and needs and to remember the universal truth of love. The less clutter we physically have in our environments, the less clutter we have in our energy fields. We create space within us to access our divine selves more fully. And that space is freedom from ego. We are constantly being programmed by our external environment. The more that we watch TV and go online, the more we're subject to marketing, to egoic wants. We are being subliminally and constantly fed this idea that we need things. But the more we step away from media, the less we feel like we need. What I want now is so utterly different than when I began my spiritual path. Things just don't hold the meaning they did, but experience does. If we look at our surroundings from a shamanic point of view, everything around us in our homes has a life force. We can commune with a rock, with a piece of wood. So in that way, everything is giving off and emitting energy. The more stuff we have, the more energy is bombarding us. And in a world where most people feel overwhelmed all the time, it's a beautiful thing to even take a little of that chaotic energy out of our lives. Create space and openness. Objects can even hold energy from the people that previously owned them. That's why you will hear a lot to be careful with antiques. If you're someone who is an empath like me, it's especially important to simplify. If you've never heard the term empath, it describes a person that can acutely feel the energy of everything around them. We can pick up on the shifting emotional energies of people, the energies of places. I remember when I was a kid, my parents took us out to eat one night. I went into the bathroom to wash my hands, and I immediately felt like I was punched in the stomach. I looked, and there was this antique desk in the corner. For some reason, the energy emitting from this thing was awful. I could barely will myself to go in. And I remember going back to the table and asking my mom to come with me. And the second we opened the door, she immediately zeroed in on it too, which is probably not the best for business. So whenever we change something around us, it creates an inner change. This is the basis for the Chinese practice of feng shui. The goal being to harness the flow of qi, or life force energy. And it's believed that by doing this, you can have more harmony in every area of your life. You can make small changes over time that will move the life force energy in a way that balances and energizes your life. Feng Shui has come up a lot of times over the years when I do readings for other people. It helped me to learn how deeply we are affected by our surroundings. It can be a great kickstart into making major life changes for a lot of us. So it makes so much sense to me. An important thing in Feng Shui is to make changes slowly. This always sticks out to me because human beings tend to need changes to be slow so that they work and stick. And that's really not our natural inclination. We tend to want to rush through everything. So if you decide to simplify, just work slowly. Start with one room, one area of your life. Think about moving things out that you don't need to make room for joy. A while back, I decided I would have less material objects and more plants. Plants give off earth energy, helping to keep us balanced. When I was growing up, my grandma always kept a jungle in her kitchen, and I loved to sit underneath the huge leafy leaves of her monstera plant and just feel their vibes. Thus began my plant obsession. And I love how when you are a kid, you just know what feels good and ignites light within you. And plants did that for me. I actually have 3 plants now that were clippings off of hers, and I hope to pass them on to my children. I love that idea of passing life force on to future generations. It's important to remember that plants do emit a lot of qi, that life force energy. So I find that in creating a home for so many of them, I tend to keep the rest of my surroundings even simpler. Sometimes if I start to feel a bit out of balance, I will actually move through my space and do a kind of inventory. I will check to see if there is energy I'm holding on to, material objects that need to be released. And when I do, I always try to do it in a conscious way. Donating things to thrift stores is incredible. We have so much stuff on this planet. We almost could never need another thing. In a journey recently, I asked the earth how I could help her more deeply. And she said, anytime you make a decision, please stop and ask if it's right for me. This is how you can care for and love me. Donating helps me to feel like I'm helping create less of the unnecessary and be more supportive to the earth. What we deem as old or even garbage can be a treasure to someone else. And I'm also an avid thrifter, so you can trust me on that. Most of the stuff I own was loved at one time by someone else. So as you move around, even touch the object. See how it makes you feel. If you don't feel overjoyed by it, it may be time to let it go. We keep so many things out of duty, feeling like we have to because it belonged to someone we love or someone gave it to us. But we deserve to make our own way and create our own lives. And to let go of those objects, to maybe allow someone else to feel joy through them. This is the magic of life. To harness your ability of creation. Take charge of your energy by taking charge of your space, your surroundings. This is one of the many ways we can stay clear and grounded, more connected to source light. Remember that everything can be made into a ritual with our own intention. So as you decide to move through your space and purify it, make it magical. Begin by setting your intention out loud or in your head. Let your helping spirits know that you are ready to create some space so that you can feel a deeper connection to the divine. That you are now going to be moving out things that are not necessary, and ask that this take place within your energy field as you work. You might want to light a white candle to symbolize purity. You can even chant some words as you work. I sometimes use the same magical words that I use when I'm burning herbs to purify my space. I am now letting go of any and all unwanted energies. Only love, light, and truth exist here in all dimensions and all times. And have gratitude for anything that you are clearing out. Know that it served its purpose and now it's time to move it out. Moving forward, when you feel the need to buy something of material value, just ask yourself, what is the energy behind this want? Do I really need this? Or am I craving to feel cared for and loved? If the latter is the case, try having a deeply nourishing meal, an invigorating cup of tea, or do something nurturing for your body, like a bathing ritual, which we will talk about in a future ritual body care episode because it needs its own. Give yourself the love it may truly be craving and make space for your divinity. Thank you so deeply for listening and for creating a spiritual path for yourself. You can join me again next month as we continue our journey into the powerful path of shamanic living. Remember that you can always get in touch with me for an Akashic record reading or shamanic healing at my website, Healing by Felicia, that's FELICIA.com. You can also keep in touch with me at my Facebook page, Felicia Armstrong, Shamanic Healer, and through Instagram through my tag, felicia.s.armstrong. Again, that's FELICIA. May you be purified, strengthened, and renewed as the pull for a new beginning rises within you.